silence is broken by shots. Screams then follow, and then you see a man run out of a home.
When you come on this block, you mainly see the children. You see all the kids. You don't see nobody arguing, fighting, or none of that.
This is Amira Harper, a 28-year-old devoted mother of three whose world was small, safe, and filled with love until the person she trusted most turned her life into a nightmare. Her husband, Zaki Barnes, had convinced her to relocate the family to South Philadelphia, promising a fresh start and a better life. But that move would mark the beginning of a horror she could never have imagined. The very night they moved in, which should have been a night of settling into a new home, spiraled into terror. On that quiet Saturday night in their new neighborhood, the woman who nurtured her family, who filled her home with warmth and laughter, was confronted by the person she trusted most. In the late hours of October 2025, Philadelphia police arrived at a home where innocence had been shattered. Amira was found in her kitchen. She had been shot 11 times while her children watched from inside the house. What was more chilling was that Zaki, her husband of only 5 months, was holding their infant in his arms when he shot their mother. The scene was unthinkable. The children, too young to comprehend the terror unfolding, were forced to witness their mother's life ripped away. The person sworn to protect them had become the source of unimaginable danger, leaving wounds that would never heal. What should have been a night of love, hope, and a new beginning became a chilling reminder of how fragile safety can be and how devastating the consequences are when trust is betrayed by the person you rely on most. Before we confront the moment that shattered everything, let's rewind to where it all began, because the stories that look the most ordinary often hide the darkest truths.
We just started grabbing all the kids because they shouldn't have had to witness nothing like that.
28-year-old Amira Harper was a mother of 3 young children. She was the kind of woman who made life in her home feel warm and steady. Neighbors described her as attentive, kind, and engaging. Latifah Holloway, who lived just a couple of doors down, remembered her as a friend, someone she could rely on, someone who showed up for the people around her. From the outside, the Harper family seemed just like any other new family. It seemed like they were trying to build a life in South Philly, but behind closed doors, danger was quietly gathering. Those who knew Amira often spoke of her laughter, the way she filled her small home with energy and care, balancing the demands of motherhood with the everyday struggles of building a future. She was the type of neighbor who noticed when someone needed help, who offered a smile or a kind word even on the busiest days. Her presence was felt in small but meaningful ways, the kind of gestures that made her stand out in a neighborhood where people often kept to themselves. The Harpers, or Harper Barnes as they were sometimes called, hadn't lived on Latona Street for long. They were relatively new to the neighborhood, yet in the short time they were there, Amira had made an impression. She had a way of making others feel welcome, of turning strangers into acquaintances and acquaintances into friends. Anthony Carden, another neighbor, described the family as neighborly, attentive to their children, and polite to everyone they met. He recalled seeing Amira walking her children to school, chatting with other parents, and making sure her kids felt included in the community. Her dedication to her children was obvious, and her warmth extended beyond her own household. There were no warning signs, no outward indication that tragedy would strike that October night. To those on the outside, the Harper Bonds looked like a family settling into their new surroundings, blending into the rhythm of South Philly life. But beneath the surface, tensions were simmering, hidden from view until they erupted in violence. Amira's husband, Zaki Barnes, was the same age as her, 28, and the couple had only been married for 5 months. For a newlywed family, the house on Latona Street represented new beginnings, a space where they could raise their children and build a life together. Little did Amira know, this new beginning would soon be shattered by someone she never imagined. The warmth Amira brought to her home and neighborhood stood in contrast to the danger that had been quietly building, a danger that no one could have imagined would end so devastatingly. On July 19, 2025, what began as a quiet evening would spiral into terror. That quiet Saturday night, neighbors later recounted the sounds that shattered their calm, arguments escalating, then gunshots, then screams. The sequence was brief but devastating. Inside the Harper home, Amira and Zaki were in the kitchen while their children played in the living room. Their 1-year-old infant was cradled in Zaki's arms when he allegedly drew the gun. Imagine the horror of turning a weapon on your own wife while holding your own child, a moment that defies comprehension. In that instant, the fragile balance of family life shattered. 11 shots tore through the silence, echoing violently across the walls of the Harper home and spilling out onto the street. The barrage of gunfire claimed Amira's life, leaving behind not only grief, but the haunting image of a mother's final moments witnessed by her children. Inside the home, Amira's life ended in her kitchen, a place that should have been a haven. She had spent her days preparing meals for her children, managing her household, nurturing her family. And there, in that familiar space, she was murdered by the person she had vowed to protect, the father of her children. The violence was sudden, brutal, and incomprehensible. The neighbors who had been enjoying a peaceful evening on their stopes were thrust into chaos. Latifah Holloway immediately understood what had happened. She rushed to gather the children, shielding them from further trauma. But here's the devastating truth. They did witness it. Those little ones saw their mother's life taken before their eyes, heard the deafening cracks of gunfire, and felt the terror of screams echoing through their home. In that moment, the man who was supposed to be their protector, their father, became the very source of danger, the person they needed protection from. The innocence of childhood was shattered in an instant, replaced by memories no child should ever carry. Anthony Carden watched the family flee in terror, the image of the children running etched into his memory forever. Even the quiet streets of South Philly, usually filled with the sounds of daily life, were pierced by the harsh reality of gunfire. The aftermath was as haunting as the act itself.
Now to a mother being remembered tonight, this after being in her home right in front of a young child. According to police, it was her husband who pulled the trigger. Tonight, family members and neighbors are facing the devastating reality. Action News reporter Brianna Smith looking into the details for us. She joins us now live at Philadelphia Police Headquarters with the new information and a sad story, Brianna.
Yes, Shari, neighbors say that the family recently moved to the area and they had nothing but pleasant interactions with them. So this came as a shock to many. They also say they can't help but think about the children who were inside at the time.
It's really a tragedy. It's heartbreaking.
Latifah Holloway is just one of many neighbors still trying to process the tragic death of 28-year-old Amira Harper.
I'm devastated. It's like, she's friends with my daughters. She's like a daughter to me. And her kids always come over here. They play with my grandchildren.
Philadelphia police say Harper was by her husband, 28-year-old Zaki Bonds, inside their home on the 2600 block of Latona Street in South Philadelphia on Saturday night. Sources tell Action News the couple was in their kitchen when Bonds fired 11. He was holding a 1-year-old baby at the time. Other children were in the living room.
I didn't know them well, but they were neighborly. The family took care of their children. And that's what really hurts most, is the fact that the children's lives are forever going to be affected.
Anthony Carden says he didn't hear the gunshots, but he saw the aftermath.
I did see the family run out, and it's hard to forget.
We just started grabbing all the kids because they shouldn't have had to witness nothing like that.
Police found Bonds hiding in a backyard and took him into custody. While investigators collected evidence inside the home Saturday night, loved ones embraced each other on the street.
It's traumatic for all of us, so like I said, I'm praying for the family. My heart goes out to them, particularly the children.
And the family asked for privacy as they grieve this unthinkable loss. As for Bonds, he's charged with recklessly endangering another person and other related offenses. Live outside Philadelphia Police Headquarters, Brianna Smith, Channel 6, Action News. Shari?
Okay, Brianna, thank you.
Police responded quickly to the 2600 block of Latona Street, arriving moments after neighbors reported the gunfire. Officers were met with chaos, children running from the house, neighbors in shock, and the remnants of a violent crime scene. Inside, investigators found the tragic evidence of what had occurred. 28-year-old Amira Harper had been shot 11 times in her own kitchen, her children forced to witness the unimaginable. But even as police secured the scene, a question was on everyone's mind. Where was Zaki Barnes, and how could this have happened in a home full of children? Officers launched an immediate search for Barnes. Within minutes, they located him hiding in a backyard near the scene. The arrest was swift, but the community's shock remained visible. For neighbors, the sense of disbelief was overwhelming. A family that had seemed normal, respectful, and involved in their children's lives had been torn apart in one violent act. The stark contrast between appearances and reality left residents questioning what signs, if any, they had missed.
Yeah, well, I'm told that Amira Harper will be remembered for being a great mother. Her family tell me that her husband of 5 months was arrested in connection to her. I'm also told her children were there at the time of the A calm Saturday night around 9, people sitting out on their stoops on Latona in South Philly. Then the silence is broken by shots. Screams then follow, and then you see a man run out of a home.
When you come on this block, you mainly see the children. You see all the kids. You don't see nobody arguing, fighting, or none of that.
In surveillance video, you see then police arrive within 90 seconds, approach the home, and then rush the victim to the hospital. Latifah Holloway lives a couple doors down. It was her friend, 28-year-old Amira Harper, who needed help. Police now saying the man leaving the house was 28-year-old Zaki Bonds. He is now charged with Amira's. Latifah says Amira's children witnessed the.
It's just sad. It's heartbroken. My heart is broken because she really was a nice person. She was a very good friend to my daughter.
According to Philadelphia police, 27 domestic violence homicides have been reported this year, 10 more than last year, a trend far too frequent.
Domestic violence is real. Like, if it's happening to you, reach out for somebody to get help. Get out while you can, because people lose their lives every day.
According to Amira's family, who were not able to speak on camera, Amira was a great mother to 3 children. Her family still processing this tragic loss. Families say Amira and Bonds were married in May and lived in this home with their children and did not have any knowledge of prior violence before. Now Zaki Bonds is facing charges. I am told Amira's family is currently they're planning funeral arrangements outside of police headquarters. Yukari Nakayama, NBC 10 News.
Once in custody, Barnes faced multiple serious charges: murder, recklessly endangering another, and related offenses. Authorities described the evidence against him as substantial. Neighbors had seen the children flee, officers had documented the scene, and the gunshot patterns confirmed accounts of the attack. The presence of children during the shooting underscored the danger and recklessness of the act. As the arrest closed one chapter, investigators began piecing together the moments leading up to the deadly confrontation. Neighbors recalled hearing the argument escalating before the gunfire erupted. What began as a verbal altercation quickly escalated to violence, highlighting the unpredictability of domestic disputes. Officers noted that the children had been in the living room, unawares at first, then suddenly exposed to trauma when their father opened fire. The 1-year-old infant in Barnes' arms during the shooting underscored the danger and recklessness of the act. Investigators processed the scene meticulously. Shell casings, ballistic evidence, and witness statements were collected. Neighbors who had observed the aftermath were interviewed. Their accounts provided critical context for understanding both the timeline and the severity of the events. Officers documented the path of the gunfire, the position of each child, and the evidence of immediate flight and hiding by Zaki after the shooting. For the children, the trauma was immediate and lasting. The children were taken under protective supervision, receiving immediate care from social services and support from extended family. Mental health professionals were brought in to ensure that the trauma could be addressed as early as possible, though officers acknowledged the long-term impact would likely be profound. Right at that moment, the legal machinery began to turn. Philadelphia authorities emphasized that Zaki's prior conduct, his access to firearms, and the circumstances of the murder demanded thorough prosecution. Every step, from arrest to evidence collection to documentation of the children's trauma, was essential in building a case that could withstand scrutiny and ensure justice for Amira Harper. The arrest marked the first step in a process that would involve court hearings, protective measures for the children, and eventual sentencing. Authorities stressed that the severity of the crime, combined with the premeditated and reckless nature of the act, would guide the prosecution's approach. Neighbors began sharing their reflections. Latifah Holloway spoke of Amira's kindness, her role as a mother, and the devastating impact of losing her in such violent circumstances. Their accounts reinforced the broader picture that domestic violence can escalate rapidly and leave entire communities traumatized. These weren't people who knew Amira and Zaki for years. They were new to the neighborhood. But in the short time they'd been there, Amira made an impact. She was the kind of person you noticed, the kind of mother you respected. Neighbors recalled how she carried herself with quiet strength, balancing the demands of raising 3 children with the warmth she extended to those around her. Even in the brief months since moving onto Lotana Street, she had managed to leave an impression. A smile exchanged on the sidewalk, a kind word offered to another parent, a gentle reminder of what it meant to be part of a community. For many, Amira's presence was a bright spot in the rhythm of South Philly life. She was attentive to her children, always seen walking them to school or playing outside, and she had a way of making others feel welcome. Though the family was new, her kindness made them feel familiar, as if they had always belonged. That's why the tragedy struck so deeply. The loss wasn't just of a neighbor, but of someone who had already begun to weave herself into the fabric of the community. And while law enforcement worked tirelessly to ensure justice, the case also exposed the harsh reality of domestic violence statistics and the urgent need for awareness and intervention. Philadelphia police reported that domestic violence homicides were on the rise, with 27 deaths recorded that year, 10 more than the previous year. Amira Harper became one of those statistics, but she was far more than a number. She was a mother, a friend, and a member of a community whose life had touched others in meaningful ways. Her death highlighted the human cost behind the statistics and the importance of proactive intervention, awareness, and protective measures in domestic disputes. The case was clear-cut in terms of evidence. The district attorney's office wasn't playing around. They had him dead to rights. He shot his wife 11 times in front of their children. There wasn't much to debate. The evidence was overwhelming, the brutality undeniable, and the circumstances left little room for doubt. The family asked for privacy as they grieved. And honestly, can you blame them? They lost Amira, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a mother whose presence had been the heartbeat of her children's lives. The children lost their mother, and they had to plan a funeral while trying to figure out how to explain to those babies why their daddy wasn't coming home. The weight of that reality was crushing. The man who should have been their protector had become the source of their deepest pain. Every day, those 3 children have to grow up without their mother. They have to carry what they saw, what they heard, what they experienced in that house. One of them will grow up knowing their father held them while he murdered their mother. How do you ever feel safe again? 5 months of marriage. That's all it took. Maybe there were signs. Maybe Amira thought it would get better. We don't know. But by the time those gunshots rang out, it was too late. And now, each sunrise brings a reminder of what was lost. The children wake in a world forever altered, their innocence fractured by the memory of that night. Family members do their best to shield them, to provide comfort, but the shadow of trauma lingers. The home that once held laughter and warmth is now remembered as the place where safety was stolen. The emotional and social consequences of the crime demanded ongoing attention. The children required long-term support, and the neighborhood was left to reconcile the violence that had erupted on an otherwise quiet street. Amira Harper was not just another statistic in the rising tide of domestic violence homicides in Philadelphia. She was a mother, a friend, a daughter, and a presence in the community. Latifah Holloway's words capture it best.
It's just sad. It's heartbroken. My heart is broken because she really was a nice person. She was a very good friend to my daughter. Domestic violence is real. Like, if it's happening to you, reach out for somebody to get help. Get out while you can, because people lose their lives every day.
The tragedy serves as a stark warning. Relationships that appear normal on the surface can hide danger. New beginnings can end abruptly, and children, innocent, unknowing, can bear witness to acts that will forever alter their lives. In this case, a marriage of only 5 months, a household that seemed ordinary, and a family that was building their future was torn apart in minutes. For Amira's children, every day forward would be a struggle to understand, to heal, and to live with the knowledge of what happened that night in their kitchen. Neighbors, friends, and family grappled with the immediate aftermath, grief, shock, and the responsibility of supporting the children. A vibrant young mother was gone. Children who should have felt safe in their own home were left to process a horror no child should witness. The funeral for Amira Harper was a somber event, attended by relatives, friends, and neighbors. The grief was obvious, the air thick with sorrow. 3 children had lost their mother in an instant, a mother who had been their anchor, their protector, their world. The ceremony honored her life, her love for her children, her presence in the community, and the joy she brought to those around her. Yet the shadow of violence hung over the proceedings. And while the family said goodbye, the legal system prepared to ensure that Zaki Barnes would face the consequences of his actions. As for now, Zaki is currently jailed, awaiting trial. Mental health professionals and social services stepped in to provide ongoing support for the children. Therapy, counseling, and a structured environment became essential as they attempted to process the night's events. Community initiatives emerged, emphasizing education on recognizing domestic violence, knowing the signs, and acting to protect those at risk. The case highlighted the critical importance of reporting suspicions, checking in with vulnerable neighbors, and supporting families in distress. Philadelphia's residents were reminded that violence does not always announce itself. It can hide behind normalcy, behind closed doors, and behind familiar faces. The legacy of Amira Harper is one of caution and remembrance. Her death exposed the fragility of life and the importance of vigilance, both in personal relationships and within communities. Her children, though forever altered, became a living reminder of her love and the consequences of unchecked violence. Philadelphia Police and the District Attorney's Office emphasized the need for ongoing community engagement and vigilance. They reminded residents that tragedies like Amira's are not isolated incidents, but part of a larger struggle against domestic violence that requires awareness, intervention, and collective responsibility. The children of Amira Harper, the neighborhood of Latona Street, and the broader community would forever remember that tragic Saturday night, carrying the lessons learned into their own lives. Rest in peace, Amira Harper. Your story is now more than a tragedy. It is a testament to the importance of vigilance, compassion, and the urgent need to confront violence within our homes and communities. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.